So my question was, how do you rebalance it? You want to avoid getting partisanship just from the other angle. You want a more of a unified understanding of what's going on, and not just two sides sort of shouting at one another.
I appreciate what you're saying, but you're assuming that if we take the most easy example, sorry, it's an American example, and we're Canadian-British, but it comes to mind, is back in the McCarthy era, people said, well, we've got to be objective. So they allowed McCarthy to stand up and slander people and say, I've got this piece of paper with so many communists, and that was the wake-up call to American journalism to go, oh my God, we're giving this guy a free ride without a critical reception, without examining what he's doing. Impartial partisan does not mean the same as taking a point of view. You can take a point of view. I have said many times, nobody from the opposite side seems to believe me, but I do not work for the Ethiopian government. I have never been paid by the Ethiopian government. I have my own stern questions which I would ask the Prime Minister if I had a one-on-one interview with him. Questions, hard questions for which I would be very curious about the answer. But that's, you can take a point of view and not be politically partisan. Why is it that during the 7/7 attacks were seen as an attack on London, as an attack on Britain, and all of us, I was there living in London at the time, and went, oh my God, this is a terrorist attack. Well, are you going to say, well, we've got to go get the terrorist view over who ripped a bus, you know, in the middle of, we have to go get the Al-Qaeda point of view after they send planes into the towers, and by the way, killed a fair number of Brits along with the Americans. The 3,000 dead that they always talk about on US networks includes a fair number of British citizens and Canadians. Several Canadians, and I can't remember what the count is, British citizens, another, were in the towers. Did they rush out and go, well, Al-Qaeda, give us your perspective and your program?
Yeah, just to add on, Pete, if I may, just because I didn't want to forget about it, the identity card thing. Yeah. Because the day before yesterday, or probably last week, I guess, the United Nations Secretary General said that Ethiopia is in the danger zone of losing its social fabric due to ethnic profiling. Imagine, this is 30 years after Ethiopia having been the only country in the world, the only member of the United Nations for 30 years, who forced citizens, it was compulsory, by the way, to put your ethnicity on your ID card until recently. The last country who tried that was Rwanda. And then we saw what happened there. The United Nations didn't say anything for 30 years, while many people have been screaming off their throats, this is not right. If you see a car being driven by, you can see the plate and you can tell who is driving it. This is sick, has been. The UN today tells us that we are in the danger zone of losing our social fabric due to ethnic profiling. We've been profiled for 30 years, dude. I just wanted to add that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Can you imagine, and you know, we're going to look back on these days, and people are going to, one of the things that the TPLF trolls on media saying, history will, you know, what is it, you're out of step with history. And I always reply, you're out of step with sanity. And the thing is, we're going to look back on these days, and people are going to be horrified by the idea that you could justify an ID card with an ethnicity. You know, I mean, what are you going to do? Say, well, the Nazi regime was justified in having Jews go around with a yellow star. We're going to look back in horror at statements being made justifying child soldiers with rifles. We're going to look back on these times and go, what the hell were they thinking? And I appreciate that we're on the outside. You and I are the Ferengi, and we look at these things from a distance, but the only way you can look at it is from a human perspective of going, okay, what if we were these people?